musical memory?
Oh my goodness. Well, when I was a really young kid, I was one of these kids that sang all the time, much to the frustration of my family, I think, particularly my brother. And so one of the earliest experiences that I have is singing in a small theatre production in the town where I grew up, Farnham in Surrey. I was in a production of Wind in the Willows. I was one of the little field mice that went carol singing in that. I have no idea how old I would have been. 9, I don't know.
Yeah.
So that's probably one of the earliest musical experiences.
Yeah.
And I started learning to play the guitar when I was about 11 or 12. Yeah.
Do you remember your first gig?
Do you know, I'm not sure. I did, which is probably common for a lot of kids, you know, like I played in school assembly, and I probably did something at like my local village fete or something like that.
Yeah.
I can remember the first paid gig that I did, which was in a pub in Farnham, and I was probably too young to be in there. I was probably 16, and I just did a gig that was mainly like my mum and dad, and some of their mates, my older brother who was old enough to be in the pub, and some of his friends.
Obviously the bug bit and you just took it from there.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. Well, yeah, I mean, it was kind of like I always loved doing music. At that stage, I don't think to be honest, I didn't think it was going to become a career. Like I went to university and did a science degree and was pursuing a different kind of line for a while, and music took a back seat until I realised that I was missing out on what I loved. So then I started again, probably when I was about 21. But yes, I guess those early experiences were the catalyst to later making the decision to go back to it.
What's the best gig you've done so far?
The best? My goodness. I guess there are different bests for different reasons. I mean, playing festivals like the Bristol Harbourside Festival that you saw this year on Queen Square stage in front of, you know, I don't know, 3,000 people, I think they estimate is something like that. I mean, that's a very strange experience.
In what way?
The vast majority of gigs that I do are much more like today, in a much smaller, intimate venue with, I don't know, under 100 people. Who you can see all of their faces, you can see the reactions on their faces whilst you're playing, and I absolutely love that environment, especially when everybody is committing to the gig. Everyone's there and they're quiet and they're listening, and you can sense the response that you're getting. If you get up outdoors on stage in front of 3,000 people, you lose all of that. You gain something else completely different, just a sense of scale. But and that's very, you know, a very invigorating, exciting kind of thing, but you lose the intimacy. So I guess for size and just excitement, and that was with a full band, so with, you know, volume and power. That kind of gig's a lot of fun. And I did Llama Tree Festival this year in front of quite a big audience, which again was just brilliant experience. But then, do you know a venue in Bristol called the Folk House?
No, I do.
It's an amazing place. It's on Park Street, and it's kind of hidden away. It's like one of Bristol's best kept secrets. You'd struggle to find it if someone didn't take you there.
Right.
And it's an independent charity, and during the day they have workshops and they have a lovely cafe in there. But then in the evenings at the weekends they put on gigs. And it's one of the best places in Bristol that you are guaranteed of having an absolutely quiet, respectful audience. And in their hall you can get audiences over 100. And the sound in there is great. The sound engineer who does all the gigs there is fantastic. And I just love, especially playing, you know, that's kind of my home crowd. I think I played for like 150 people in there. Dead quiet, really warm, very partisan, but I love that kind of experience.
Would that be your favourite place to play, though?
For that type of gig, yeah, for the solo, intimate,
Yeah.
acoustic shows,
Yeah.
that is my favourite place to play.
Does
Sounds
it
like
irritate you when people ignore you and kind of talk all over you and stuff?
I've come to kind of look at it as just part of what I do.
Yeah.
I mean, you know, I think it would frustrate me if it happened at every gig.
Oh,
But I do a lot of gigs in places where people are not paying to come and see a gig. They, you know, it might just be in a pub, for example, and they might just be coming out to have a beer with their mates, and I can't expect them to forego whatever plans they had for their night just because I'm singing some songs.
yeah, yeah.
So other people get more frustrated than me in those situations, I think.
Yeah.
But you know, fortunately, that's like 1 in 5 gigs can be like that, and the rest of them will be like today. You know, beautiful, focused, listening audience.
Yeah.
And so I just kind of take the variety of it.
Has there been a worse gig so far?
In my life,
Yeah, or a very weird one?
there's plenty of weird ones. Yeah,
Yeah.
I'd have to think about it. I mean, I've played to like one person. I'm sure everyone's had those kind of gigs.
Yeah.
I've had gigs at places where I've turned up and the venue seems to have been doing everything within its power to actively dissuade people from attending. They can be pretty disheartening.
Yeah.
Some festival gigs can be quite difficult if you know the turnover of acts is super fast and the sound engineers are struggling and everything's rushed, and you end up kind of just feeling like everything's a battle.
Yeah.
And you can get to the end of a set of something that you might have been really looking forward to for months and just think, oh, God, I didn't really enjoy that. It just felt like hard work.
Yeah. Yeah.
So some of those have been a little bit frustrating. But nothing that's been that bad an experience because I'm still doing it.
No. Still getting good reactions.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and that's the lovely thing. I mean, I think you always have to come back to that. You know, that's my main source of validation for what I do, really, regardless of whether or not somebody might choose to play me on national radio, or whether somebody wants to financially back me, or whether I get enough review or something. People coming up to me at the end of a gig, taking the time to come up to me at the end of the gig and say, "Thank you very much, that was really beautiful," and you know, often they're the people that you know have been listening. They'll come up and say, "Oh, this particular song with this lyric I really liked," or "I really liked that particular chord progression," or whatever. It's not necessary for them to do that. They could very easily just take their experience and leave. But the fact that they've decided that they're going to come and share that with me and the fact that it happens regularly is all of the validation I need to kind of justify why I'm doing it.
I know, I had to wait in the queue for this, to speak to this guy at Bristol Harbour Festival. It was a long queue.
Popular artist.
And I made the mistake of standing by the sound guy, and they assumed somehow that I was connected to you. They were coming up and saying, "Where can I buy a CD?" And I was like, "No, go on to the stage, see him after." So, popular guy. Time for another one, I think.
Yeah.
Phil, what are you going to do this time?
I'm going to quickly tune this down. I'm going to play a song called You Know Where to Find Me.
Yeah.